we're seeing demographics of all kind. We're seeing audiences of all kind do really well, but the strategies taken to get there in a channel where consumers are more sensitive are pretty radically different in each case.
We found that the bigger the list got, the less money we make per email.
Brands who treat the channel closer to how we all use it to text one another are like seeing better results.
Ever wonder how those e-commerce brands you admire do it? How they know just the right message to send to the right people at the right time? Guess what? It's not experience. They have the right data and the right tools. They have Klaviyo. Klaviyo's data-driven marketing automation platform is sophisticated enough to power those legendary campaigns from the brands you admire, but they made it simple, easy, and fast enough for anyone to use. Klaviyo helps brands easily create personalized multi-channel marketing campaigns using your most powerful asset, your customers' data. Klaviyo integrates with all leading e-commerce platforms, helping you use your customer data in real time to send more relevant emails and SMS automations. Plus, building a marketing campaign is drag and drop easy. You can get started with your first campaign in under an hour and easily build from there with Klaviyo's best performing templates. Klaviyo gives you all the power of an enterprise marketing automation platform and none of the complexity, so you can compete with the big guys. No wonder more than 65,000 brands can't get enough. To get started with a free trial of Klaviyo, visit klaviyo.com/uncensored. That's KLAVIYO.com/uncensored.
You're listening to E-Commerce Uncensored with Kevin Manel and Jason Caruso.
Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us on another episode of E-Commerce Uncensored. My name is Kevin Manel, and I'm here with
Jason Caruso.
Today's episode. We're joined with Alex Beller, the co-founder of Postscript, the SMS marketing software. Really cool interview. I mean, we're new to SMS. I think the whole world is kind of new to SMS, but it's really like one of those channels that we really haven't tapped into too much yet. So it was really interesting to pick his brain.
Yeah, it was, man. He was really, he said he dropped out of college, but he's like, you could just tell he's a smart guy.
Oh yeah.
Very, very, very interesting. And I really like the possibilities or the opportunity of SMS, even though we haven't used it much. And I definitely think with our new product that we're coming out with, I think we're going to use it a lot.
Yeah. Speaking of SMS, we do have our SMS set up in our Klaviyo account for this podcast. So if you have any questions, comments, you want to shoot us a message, you could text us at 844-643-0745 and we'll get back to you. Got a couple people chatting with us in there, so it's pretty cool. Anyway, enjoy this interview with Alex Beller, co-founder of Postscript. Hey, Alex, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys.
So we started to get into it before we got on, but I actually wanted to share the story of how we first met on before we get going, because I thought it was a really cool scenario. Because I was on a Zoom call with one of my clients, and we were talking about Postscript, and I don't know what happened, but she wanted to get in touch with customer support, so she just went on your website, I think, and just started a chat. And she's on with me still on Zoom while she's doing this, while she's chatting with support. And she's like, "Oh, I'm just going to bring him on to our Zoom call." I was like,
Bring who on? Wait, bring Alex on.
Alex. Well, the customer, I didn't know at that point it was Alex.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay.
So she's like,
I don't know this story. I don't know the story, Alex, by the way.
Yeah. So she just shares the Zoom link in the customer service chat with whoever's on the other end. And you show up, the co-founder of Postscript.
Yeah.
So,
Scripts. Isn't it Postscripts?
It's
Postscript.
No S. No S.
Okay.
No S.
So
Good
it's
question.
Postscripts. Sorry.
So it was pretty cool because you explained to us that you like to jump into the customer service chat every once in a while just to listen to, your customers, which I thought was really cool, and a really cool lesson as well to a lot of people out there is like, if you really want to hear how people are interacting with your product or learn new things about your product, it's a really good way. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. All the answers are there. like all of the answers are in the customer support queue.
Do you do that a lot?
Not as much as I should. I probably do it every couple months. I'll jump in. I'll take a shift I will be, by the way, I'm a total weight on our customer support team. Suppose we're now like 220 people. When we started, me and my partners would do all the support. Like we had a live chat widget in the app and on our website. And when people would chat in, we had it set up to call our cell phones, and we would drop, like one of us would wake up in the middle of the night because we were, can I curse?
Yeah,
Of course.
go for it.
Uncensored. I figured we were fucking nobodies, right? We had no customers. And so I would like wake up in the middle of the night. That's what we would do. When we started hiring a real support team, they like took on that ethos and they go above and beyond. And like, we care a lot about like just investing a ton there so that people don't have to wait for chat support. They can like actually get like help live. We aim for a 2-minute response time anyway. And so I jump in there because like, I want to talk to customers and I also want to understand the experience of our support team. And like, but from the early days of me alone to now where we have a big team doing it, like they have like systems and processes and macros and like all kinds of stuff. And I have not been along for that ride at all. So I get in there for a couple hour shift and I'm just like I'm doing my best, but I also like need one of them to like be on Zoom with me to like help me. Cause I don't know, I just don't get it anymore. But it does bring out like good learnings and insights, and I'll do crazy stuff. Like, you know, we were talking to a shared customer of ours or you two were speaking and she had a question and I was like, yeah, I want to jump on live right now. Let's go to a Zoom. So that was fun, but I'll be honest, I'm not doing that quite every week.
And the rest of the team's like, oh, Alex is on chat again. Like, everybody's
Well,
gonna be waiting.
you know,
they're like, this is going to kill our stats. They're like, this guy's going to kill our, like, he's going to take too long because I got tickets. Cause I'm just in there chatting. I'm like, what else is going on in your business? Like what are features you need from Postscript? Like that live back and forth is so good.
You know, it's funny. Two things. Like I was just listening. Number one, I do this to Kevin too. I say, leave my shit alone. Dude, stop touching my Facebook ads. Stop touching my friggin' emails. Because every time Kevin thinks he can do better, he touches them and it fucks it all up. So I tell him, stay away from my stuff. That's number one. But number two, you know, it's interesting because when you first start out in business, and I think everybody listening can relate to this. We like to complicate everything because we think that the secret is in the complexity of the system or the complexity of whatever. And the truth is, man, like you said, it's like, you want to know what your customers are bitching about? Just go on chat with them and you'll find like the answers are just right there. And like, then that can turn into like your sales page or your webinar or whatever you're doing. You know, Alex Harmozy talks about this in the $100 million offer. He's like, turn like their problems into, right? Like you turn their problems into like a sort of like a strength of your company. And it basically kind of answers all the questions. So I think that's what you were doing basically is like, look, I just want to figure out what's going on with my software and figure out what the hell is going on.
Totally.
You know, so yeah.
But it applies to e-commerce brands too. Like before we started Postscript, I was running e-commerce brands, right? Like that was my job for years. My partner, Adam, we were working there together. And like, if 50% of your customer support is like, where is my order? Which it is for many of us, right? Then like, there's probably some customer experience improvements you can make to like proactive order tracking orders and text messages and like, and email flows about that, or like having a different interface on site. I'm just pulling that example out of the air. I just say it because like live interaction with your customers is where you're going to learn, to your point, about like their needs, what they care about, what they don't. And like, that's the most valuable thing for any of us, whether you're making software like me or selling a product.
Yeah. So I just had an experience recently. So Kevin and I are building or are starting this new business around golf. I used to be a former PGA teaching professional.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I've been wanting to do this friggin' business for like 10 years. And we have so many things going on. It's just hard. And then I moved to Myrtle Beach and I'm like, I'm doing it. So that's what we're doing. So I was using this company called Convertkit. Now, they are like an email provider. The business is more like we're actually switching from Convertkit to Klaviyo, but in the beginning, I was just setting up Klaviyo, and I had to confirm my email from Klaviyo. Now, I was using a Gmail account, and I could never get the confirmation email. It was driving me crazy. Could not get it.
Mhm.
So then I started, I'm like, I had my Convertkit, like the double opt-in turned on,
Sure.
and not a lot of people were like double opting in. So I'm like, what the hell is going on? What do? I go in my subscribers, and all the ones that are not getting it, at gmail.com, at gmail.com, at gmail.com. I said, son of a bitch, ConvertKit is having problems with Gmail.
Mhm.
So I turned off the double opt-in. But that's kind of like the idea, right? Is to go through the process, go through the experience, see what the hell's going on, and then finding those holes and kind of fixing them.
Totally.
No, I wanted to step back and talk to you about your is that how you got into the SMS marketing side of this thing? You were doing e-com and you kind of saw a hole in it. How did you get started? Did you build the platform itself, or how did
Sure.
that start?
So I was born, I was 2, and I knew I wanted to dedicate my life to SMS. I said, this is it for me. And it's been just smooth sailing. No. So was working in e-commerce for a long time. Dropped out of school, was working at a company called Stat Commerce. Stat Commerce is this really interesting e-commerce business where they partner with online blogs and publications, and they build them branded stores that sell things that relate to whatever that blog writes about. So they'll partner with like a Apple or like a Mac blog, and they'll build them a store that sells like iPhone accessories, things like that, right? They'll run the Mashable store, and they'll fill it with like tech gadgets, things like that. And so it was an interesting lens in e-commerce, and was working there for a long time and saw a lot of the macro trends that are like mainstream today, right? Saw email engagement sort of like plateauing, and like in that business in particular, it wasn't increasing, it was steadily declining, and saw mobile traffic at the same time going up and up and up every single year as a percentage of overall shopping traffic. And so those two things together had us kind of talking and thinking a lot about like, what is the mobile first retention channel? And right around then, my now partner, Adam, he came to me, he was a friend, and he said, hey, my brother and I were hacking on this idea. They're self-taught engineers. And they were like, we're hacking on this idea. A friend of ours runs a business on Shopify. He's complaining that he doesn't have a way to text his customers. And so they were building a little Shopify app. And we were not inside the Shopify ecosystem. We didn't use the technology. We didn't know what Klaviyo was. No one else was doing SMS yet. Like, it was just, there was a thing called SMS bump we saw in the App Store, but like, we just didn't know anything about the ecosystem. But the three of us were like, cool, this feels like one of those entrepreneurial moments. You have a customer willing to pay money to solve a problem of his. He wants to be able to text his customers. Let's build software that plugs into Shopify and solves that problem, and we'll make money. And we thought at the time that this was going to be a passive side business. We were like, let's each make $2,000 a month from this. Like, that would be a huge, crazy success. And we didn't know about the ecosystem, or even building SaaS businesses was new to us. And so we hacked away at this for a couple months. We got published on the Shopify App Store, and we launched. And the first day was crickets. The second day, someone came and installed our app, and they paid us to use it. And that was like a mind-blowing moment of having someone sign up, put their credit card in $50 a month for, at the time, was a janky, horribly designed application that barely worked, that let them text their customers. But really, that was the start. And it's been 3.5 years, and we're just off to the races, where now Postscript's 220 people spread out across North America. And we only do the one thing now, where we only work with brands on Shopify, and we only do SMS. And that's like, we discovered a market that we didn't know was there.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's, it's funny because Shopify just is taking over everything. First it was Magento, and then like it's very clunky, and it's like very hard to like do anything with. And Shopify has taken over. So I think like anything Shopify at this moment, I think is just awesome. So my question to you, Alex, is, because obviously you're an SMS company, and Kevin and I have our own 7-figure business in the wildlife photography space. We partnered with a wildlife photographer, and the first year we did almost $2 million in year one. we're finding it a little bit more difficult to go from 2 million to 5 million. But
Again, it was supposed to be one of those passive income kind of
Yeah,
things.
it's supposed to be passive. But that's not the case. But my question to you is, do you see, because we don't do SMS for this business, we do it for some of our other clients. And I'm just wondering, do you see it, the effectiveness of it change depending on the demographic of the customer?
Yeah, great question. So I have a bunch of thoughts on this.
Yeah, I want to hear them.
You're going to have to cut me off and stop me from ranting.
That's
So
okay. I want to learn about it because I don't really know that much about SMS, and I'm really interested because I feel like it's an opportunity for us that we're not taking advantage of. So
it's an opportunity. It is very early days. This is like email in 2001, right? Super, super early. And so what we're seeing is brands and marketers, they're coming to the channel and they're doing, as they should, they're doing what they know, right? They're taking the email frameworks that have worked pretty well for them and they're like enabling those on SMS, right? So they're like, cool, let's put on some automation flows, right? Let's turn a welcome and abandon and some win backs and stuff. And then let's send out some marketing campaigns, right? And that makes complete sense. But that is like not exactly what the messaging channel has been built for. Like email is built to be one-way asynchronous communication. You don't text that way with your friends. You like text live back and forth, right?
Like you don't say something and say, goodbye, I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. And so why I step back and say this before getting to your answer about demographics is because using that sort of approach, using the like, let's take the basics of email and let's like apply it on SMS, that's working in many places, but that is not working equally across all demographics, all use cases for sure, right? In some places that's going to work better than others. And that's all driven by the fact that like consumers' tolerance to receive a text is way lower than their tolerance to receive an email, right? Consumers are more sensitive to this like private channel. And so we see brands of all types, we see demographics of all types engaging and doing really, really well on text, but the strategies they're using to get there are often quite different. They're like honest to whatever the like actual use case should be for that brand, right? I don't know about your guys' wildlife photography business, but I'm just going to like make some stuff up as examples. Like maybe, promotional texts aren't like a fit to that audience at all, but maybe like a content message that goes out once a month or even once a week for people who opt into it of like a GIF that walks people through the like 5 top selling images from that month or like new images that come through. Like that's a photography business being way more image first versus just like standard remarketing. Like that could actually really resonate with the audience. So we're seeing demographics of all kind. We're seeing audiences of all kind do really well, but the strategies taken to get there in a channel where consumers are more sensitive are pretty radically different in each case. I'll give another example. For many brands, sending out a blast to your whole list with a discount code a couple times a week over text is like not the right like approach for not for all brands, but for many brands, right? Because we see unsubscribe spike, the value of a text is really worthwhile, and the value of that like list will just degrade pretty quickly. And that's like an email first approach. But I was arguing with a brand owner about this recently, and they do drops, they do clothing drops, and they have a really, really engaged audience. And I was pushing him. I'm like, dude, you text your audience too much. You send a text every single day, and like you're going to waste money on Postscript and you're going to burn out your list. And he was like, no, you are wrong. Like people want our daily drop. That's why they signed up to our list. Whether or not they buy it, look at my unsubscribe rates. And I went into his account and I looked at it, and he was completely right. Like people were signing up just for that brand, not for everyone, but in order to get a daily drop, because that was the model and that's the brand that they were buying into. So I use that as an example because like that marketing strategy working incredibly well for that brand on SMS is not something that every other brand could replicate. because that's really just about the like brand promise and merchandising strategy they have. So there really isn't like a one size fits all approach to SMS. It really is about a more tailored approach based on what that brand stands for, what they sell, what the messaging and creative is.
Yeah, Kevin and I talk about this a lot because we've always felt that you have to use SMS and email in tandem, right? Because SMS is very intrusive, right? Like whatever you're doing, it interrupts, right? And I think about this a lot, which is so interesting to me. It's like they just come through different icons on your phone, but their level of intrusiveness is different, right? Like I get an email on my phone, it pops up. I get a text on my phone, it pops up. It's the same shit. Yep. But for whatever reason, text messaging is just a little bit more intrusive. I don't know why, but it's just an app. One's coming through one. I mean, it's an icon. One comes through one icon, one comes through the other icon. Why is it different? I don't understand. It's just a different icon.
I think it's because, so you're right. It is just icons, but it is more intrusive. And I think it's because of the habits and expectations that we've all built up around it. Like, I mean, I'm not the best responder over text. Sometimes it takes me a while to get back to certain people in my life. Not everyone, just certain people. But like,
I know somebody like that.
Yeah. The expectation is you go back and forth over text, right? Email, you can get to it whenever you want to. It's going to sit unread inside your inbox. When you reply, it might take a while for that person to get back. And the expectation of immediacy is so much stronger on text that I think that's why we find it more intrusive when brands kind of like overstep there. What's been interesting for us is we've been doing more and more like data science at scale across our like customer base, because this channel's so early, people are looking for best practices a lot. What's been interesting to us is getting really, really deep into unsubscribe data, because like that's kind of like the best proof point for, if you're oversending, if you're annoying your customer base, et cetera. And what we see, interestingly, is that unsubscribe rates tend to decline a lot after the first 30 days that someone is a subscriber. So like if you can keep someone for the first 30 days, they'll tend to stick around on your list at a much higher rate. And we think the reason for that, why that's happening, is brands who like really, really push not just the marketing automation stuff, but they like push content, they push creative in there, they make it fun and engaging, they explain what they're going to use the channel for, and they respond to people when people text in with questions or customer support. That's what brings unsubscribe rates way down and keeps engagement high up. So like the point, I'm being long-winded, I'm sorry. The fucking point I'm trying to make is that people who treat the channel, brands who treat the channel closer to how we all use it to text one another, are like seeing better results.
I think the ability to text more often is kind of what held us back a little bit from using SMS, because we're huge email guys.
Sure.
That's what we've always been doing. And we know that we can send an email and make money. And we want to do that almost every day. And we know that that's not appropriate via text. So how often do you think is appropriate? I mean,
I'm sorry, Kevin, before you move on, I want to just say one thing, Alex, because I don't want to say that I'm challenging you on something, but I do want to
do it.
I do want to say something, because like I've been around big e-commerce brands for a long time. I've been doing e-commerce for a very, very long time. And everyone covets this unsubscribe rate. And I kind of like the opposite. I'm like, get the fuck off my list if you're not going to buy, right? Like, I don't want someone there who is never going to buy from me. Sure. And like, because I always look at it like this, like if they're not spending money, they're costing me money, right? Sure. Like, so like if they're on my list and they've been on there for 6 months and they're just eating up all my content, like to me, right? Like I've never subscribed to a brand and then like a year later got an email from them and bought from them, right? I've always been like right away, I'm either interested or I'm not.
Sure.
And there are instances where timing matters. So I completely understand that, where like people just don't have the money maybe 1 week and then the next week they do. But over a 6-month period, if like you're opening my emails, or even if you're not opening my emails, like to me, it's like I want my list to be engaged buyers. And I'm not really interested personally. I know like there's this big push with the relationship bullshit. I don't have a relationship with anybody on my email list. I don't care how many times
No
I
one
email.
wants a relationship with you.
I
so
know,
it's
and
fine.
I don't have one. So I'm not like I'm very weary of these buzzwords that go around, and I try to really work in reality and not like in La La Land, like some people talk about. So like to me, if you're on my list for 6 months and you haven't like bought something and you've opened up like 1 or 2 emails, I want you off. So like, I just want to say that like, because I don't know that unsubscribes are a good indicator, because I think we found over time that we want to attract people who want our stuff, right? Like we've always been, and I've just, Alex, this is like something new for me because I've been like studying copywriting a lot. Like I'm buying all these copywriting books and they all say the same thing. Like, look, we're trying to attract people like us. We're trying to attract people who want our stuff. We're not trying to persuade people who don't need our product to buy from us. So with that being said, do you think the value in someone on your list for a long period of time is, do you think there is value in that? Like, because I don't know if I see it per se.
This is fucking great. So there's a bunch here. I want to start with the higher level, and then I'll get into tactical stuff. So I agree that unsubscribe should not be the North Star. We focus on a metric that we call subscriber LTV. That is our absolute North Star. Just like how only looking at unsubscribes in a vacuum is flawed, we feel strongly that like the focus on ROI above all else is also like super flawed, right? Like when a marketing automation tool, right? I was dialoguing with someone recently, a CMO in the space, and he was like, I'm getting like Postscript's telling me I'm getting like 70x ROI. And that's really great. But you know what? Like I bought a lot of the traffic that like became SMS subscribers like on Facebook. And that's not factored into your like in-platform ROI equation. And I'm like, totally. That's a great point. Like focusing purely on unsubscribes is flawed. Focusing purely on ROI is flawed. We focus on subscriber LTV, and how that breaks down is essentially like we break it out into these benchmarks across acquisition, right? How fast is someone like acquiring subscribers onto their list versus the site traffic they see? And then multiplying that times the messages they send per subscriber, the revenue they generate per subscriber, and divided by the unsubscribe rate. This is like a classic like LTV calculation, right? It's how people calculate LTV for their SaaS business or for whatever business. And then we like benchmark this. And so when we go to someone and when we're coaching someone on a better SMS strategy, we're talking to them in terms of like, how does their subscriber LTV look? What's like the value of a subscriber to them? Because housed within that, you can look and see like, hey, your unsubscribe rate's like great, no worries. Or, hey, you have an opportunity to actually message your account more. Or, hey, we need to focus on improving the creative because we need to pick up your revenue per message. So I break that down because that's a more holistic view of like how we think about channel performance, is looking at like a broader data set than just unsubscribes, because I do think that like unsubscribes in a vacuum is like, doesn't tell you that much and is flawed. The other thing to your point that I think about of like, you want a list of engaged subscribers or engaged buyers to market to. I totally agree with that. I do, however, think that especially in a channel where you're getting really, really high open and click rates, like the person I'm marketing to every single week, I want them to be engaged. I want them a fan of the brand. But would I mind keeping other people on my list? Maybe they've bought once, maybe they haven't bought. Even if I'm not marketing to them much, like, but come November, do I want them still on my list? Even if I'm not saying to them all year? I would take that as a marketer. I don't know if you would. Like, I would take a bigger audience during the big days.
Ever wonder how those e-commerce brands you admire do it? How they know just the right message to send to the right people at the right time? Guess what? It's not experience. They have the right data and the right tools. They have Klaviyo. Klaviyo's data-driven marketing automation platform is sophisticated enough to power those legendary campaigns from the brands you admire but they made it simple, easy, and fast enough for anyone to use. Klaviyo helps brands easily create personalized multi-channel marketing campaigns using your most powerful asset, your customers' data. Klaviyo integrates with all leading e-commerce platforms, helping you use your customer data in real time to send more relevant emails and SMS automations. Plus, building a marketing campaign is drag and drop easy. You can get started with your first campaign in under an hour and easily build from there with Klaviyo's best performing templates. Klaviyo gives you all the power of an enterprise marketing automation platform and none of the complexity, so you can compete with the big guys. No wonder more than 65,000 brands can't get enough. To get started with a free trial of Klaviyo, visit klaviyo.com/uncensored. That's KLAVIYO.com/uncensored.
Yeah, I mean, I for sure, I would. But my question then, isn't LTV over a defined period of time more important than just LTV, right? Because lifetime value over a certain period of time will tell you how long you need those people on for. And if they are way past that point and haven't purchased, it may tell you something else. Like maybe, like you said, put them aside, wait till Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or some big holiday sale or something. But yeah, I mean, there's just so many ways to look at this shit. It's just crazy. It's like crazy because there's just so many. And I'm not saying there's like a right or wrong way. I think you got to kind of like figure that out for yourself. But like Kevin and I have really gotten kicked in the teeth recently with our wildlife photography brand because we have like 60, 70, 80,000 people on our email list. And honestly, like the bigger it gets, the less effective it is on a micro level, right? Like long term, it, but like we found that the bigger the list got, the less money we make per email, which is fucking weird.
Do you think that's because the people that came on earlier are just like absolutely in the like ideal customer profile? They're like perfect for the brand. And as you guys get more aggressive with acquisition and you start opening up the tap, like people come in that just aren't as like ripe of leads?
No, I think it's because we give too much value in our emails. So people don't think they need to buy.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a digital. It's a digital product. That's
sure.
It's a magazine. So we started giving away a lot of articles and information in our emails, and people were just like, "Hey, I don't need to subscribe. I'll just get it here."
Sure.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I think now I'm saying all that though, Alex, because I do think this is where SMS steps in for me personally, because we've noticed that timing is everything, right? Like you can send me an email and I'm like walking to the grocery store and I will completely ignore that email or save it for later and then forget. But then I get another email from the same company when I'm sitting home on the couch with my, watching TV, and then I respond or whatever. I think SMS, at least where we are today, right? Like you said, it's in the infancy stages. I feel like SMS is like a really good way to get some of those people who aren't engaged, because sometimes people just start just ignoring your emails. Like for me personally, I don't even unsubscribe. I just delete them and don't even think about it. Delete. Like, oh shit, maybe it's just unsubscribed. Like, so I don't got to keep deleting these friggin' emails. But that's where SMS comes in and like, okay, let's try a different channel. Maybe this new channel will catch them in a different way or something. But yeah, I really like that approach where like you have a email strategy and then you have an SMS strategy that kind of like, piggybacks. They piggyback each other, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I mean, I think that it's like my job to say this so everyone can take it with a grain of salt, but like they're pretty different channels. People interact with them differently. The common shared point is that they are like retention remarketing owned channels. But beyond that, like how many people reply back to most of the brand emails they get, right? That's super rare. People text back all the time. So it is like fundamentally different. It's a point of engagement. And like, though many people want to treat it as like purely a marketing channel, it can be a place of like customer support. It can be a place to facilitate updating your subscription or to handle reorders, stuff like that. And what our data shows is that when consumers interact with a two-way interaction with a brand, when they like reply and get support, when they manage their subscription or something like that, then their like propensity to spend increases, which does make sense to me. Like if a brand texts me something and if they text me an offer and I text them back a question and they never answer me, I'm like not going to go back there. But if their support team answers my question, I'm like way
feel
more likely to
obligated,
convert.
right? Like you feel obligated.
That's like working with a salesperson in the store, you know? So
How do you handle that though? I mean, you need to have somebody available to answer text, around the clock, basically. I mean, with email, we can send an email. And then
Sure.
like even with our Wild Ape brand, like I just check the email like once a day or once every
Sure.
couple of days just to check in. With text, you got to have someone there and ready to respond because what you just said, you can't let that happen. You can't let text go unresponded to, right?
Totally. It's important. So like we advise through a couple different ways. We integrate with the help desk. So, customer support teams can handle it inside there and messages get flagged as text. And then we also recommend when brands are coming onto Postscript, we say like, hey, what is your strategy for handling like responses going to be? And most of the time they're like, I don't know. I don't have one. Like I'm here to do marketing. And it's like, cool. Like, let's talk about it. Like you're going to make more money and your customers are going to be happier if you answer them. And that doesn't necessarily mean you need to be, answer them all the time live. Maybe in your welcome series, include a note about how like, hey, like this is a monitored line. We're going to answer your questions, but sometimes it takes us a day or two to get back, right? You can like educate and buy yourself time in that sense. But we do see undeniably, like higher engagement and purchase rates when people take care of their customers on the channel.
I can absolutely see that. It's fun. This shit almost worked on me. So I'm in this like Facebook group with this guy who is teaching people how to sell high ticket products, right? So he has a really cool strategy. He posts something in the group and then he asks people if they want something like a report or they want to see his strategy. And then like they start messaging him and then like he'll like message them in Facebook Messenger. Like, and that's really him. It's not like, and then he'll be like, hey man, like, do you mind if I text you like some information? It's like, sure. Now, once he does that, it gets kicked into like an automated flow or something. But now, and like, this is why this is why I'm starting to get into like copywriting, because like the psychology behind marketing is just fascinating to me. Now, when he text messages me, I think he's really just messaging me, but he's not. He's obviously not. And it's so interesting because like my guard is down and like I find myself sitting there like texting this idiot like he's really texting me, but he's not, and I'm so fascinated to like where that's going to go with SMS, because I personally don't know if email will ever go away like people have been projecting or whatever, because I don't think
it's going anywhere.
It's not going to go anywhere. Right.
I don't think so.
Even though SMS is like huge, or it's going to be huge. I still think like them working together is like the best. So I love the opportunity in, like you're saying, this conversational, like back and forth. Cause I do think that we have such short memories, and like, as long as we could stay engaged, I feel like we are definitely much more like, I've even thought about buying from this guy because like, I feel like he's texting me.
Sure.
It's interesting.
It's compelling. Like, I think, especially for the next year or two, I think most brands are probably going to bungle this, right? Because the vision of the world we have is that like, eventually there's a job post at most e-commerce companies called like, conversational commerce marketer or like SMS marketer, right? Yeah. Because it is sort of like a different thing. You're going to need like auto responses, and you're going to need like two-way like flows built out, and like all this engagement-based stuff that like is a little different than one-to-many traditional e-com retention, but it is cool. And I think it's customer friendly. I think that like a lot of brands are going to make a lot of money by actually engaging with consumers and not just like sending them offers every day, but like actually having a two-way dialogue. Like that's how
Kim,
human beings communicate, right? That's like
yeah,
what works for us.
dude, our client who's using Postscript,
Mhm.
um, dude, the amount of money they make from SMS, it blows away email. Like it's not even
Go.
close. It's like way more money than their email channel.
We're starting to see that. We're really starting to see that. And they're not sending as much via
That's
email
the
for
thing.
the
They
reasons
can't
we
send
talked
as
about it.
much. Right.
They can't send as much, and it'd be really expensive to send as much too. But like we're seeing the brands who are adopting well start to generate more from the channel. And it's with like way smaller lists. Like I think a year or two from now, is like lists mature and grow, I think that'll increase.
It's interesting that it's just like just starting out now. Like I feel like we've been texting for so long, and the fact that
Yeah.
this is just a thing now, and I'm noticing it a whole lot more with
Mhm.
when you're opting into a website and things like that, where everybody's asking for your phone number. Now, about that though, like if someone's looking to get started collecting email addresses, aside from the fact of like having their Shopify opt-in and all that stuff when they're in the checkout, how would you what would you recommend people to do to start collecting email or to start collecting phone numbers without necessarily on the purchase side, but just like organically on their website? What would you recommend?
Yeah. So there's a few tent poles for collection, and then people can get fancy and creative if they want to. So the two no-brainers, all our data shows this, is you need to add in phone to your on-site pop-ups, and you should also collect it at checkout. I'm not telling people to stop collecting email. I'm a huge proponent of email. You just heard me say it's not going anywhere, but like add it as the second screen, or add it as like the second call to action behind your email capture, right? Like that is especially for your mobile traffic, They're on their phones. That is like, that is a no-brainer. That is the biggest lever for collection. Beyond that, people have started to get really creative using keywords to drive opt-ins. So keywords of like text Alex to 30303, right? Stuff like that. We're seeing brands insert keywords, utilize our integration with Klaviyo to insert keyword call to action into the emails they send out. And they use the integration to target those dynamic blocks in Klaviyo purely to people who haven't opted into SMS yet. So if you've opted into SMS, you're not going to see anything. But if you haven't, you're going to see a call to action of like, join our VIP list, text Alex to 30303. So we're seeing people collect off email. We're seeing them collect on site with pop-ups and checkout collection. The last thing that I'm pretty excited about is we're seeing people do really well with keyword banners, right? Just banners along the top of their site or bottom of their site that have a keyword call to action, because people will be surfing however, and then they'll just take their phone and they'll like text and sign up really easily. Beyond those things, it gets more creative, right? Not getting into acquiring phone numbers and stuff like that. We see brands starting to insert QR codes into their packaging. And when the QR code scans, it pulls up it pre-fills a sign up text sent to a phone number. So you just scan the QR code and boom, you've like opted into their text list. And so we're seeing brands insert QR codes in packaging, which is a cool thing as well.
Yeah, I really like that option. I know Klaviyo does it. No, I know you guys do it. Is when you can have it so when you click on a button, it automatically on your phone opens up your text message screen. So you're actually feel like you're text messaging somebody, and it just has that keyword in it. The thing with like the phone opt-in that's got me, and I think it hangs people up a lot, is like all that like legal shit that you have to include in all your opt-ins for text messaging. Is there like an end in sight to that? Not like an end, but like, is that just a really difficult struggle you're having with these, phone providers and all these things? You have to have all these legal notices because, email is just like, just give us your email and we're good to go. Text messages seems like, and even on a Shopify checkout, you have that big block of text that you have to put the checkbox in, and it's just like, seems like an extra step. Is that something that you're moving eventually away from?
No, there's no end in sight here. And this could change. But it all comes from a piece of regulation in the US called the TCPA, the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. And what it essentially says is that you cannot text someone unless they explicitly opt in. And the legalese helps govern that. And here's the thing, in email, there's a lot of like people out there who like kind of bend the rules, whatever, gray areas. With text, the penalties are incredibly high. If you on purpose like don't put up that sort of opt-in, right? Or if you upload a phone number list, you're liable for $1,500 in damages per message sent.
Wow.
There have been huge cases, TCPA law.
Faxing
So because
too. Faxing.
there's so much money in that, there's so much money in this that there's huge legal firms out there who just do this full time, who like police the space and ambulance chase towards like not properly opted in texts. So that is why it's like built up this way. And unless there's like a regulation change, I'm not expecting anything to shift there.
So
Jason
going
and I-
back. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Jason and I were just having this conversation about email too, and it's a quality list too. Like if you actually have someone check that box, and so it could actually be beneficial to you that you're actually getting a quality lead instead of just someone who's just randomly on your list that ended up there
Yeah.
by accident.
I was actually going to say that. I have that written down, Kev. Is that like, that's exactly, I think one of the biggest benefits of SMS is like, I don't think people are going to join 50 different brands SMS, right? So like the people that do it, you know, and this is where, Alex, I think email and SMS may be different, or they are different, right? Like when people actually join your SMS like list, they are definitely people that are more engaged or more interested in your brand than say email, right? Because you can set up a spam email. You really can't set up a spam cell phone number or mobile number. So they're probably, people are just a little bit more weary about giving you that. But when they do, it means they really want your shit. So I think from that standpoint, if someone is on your SMS list and they're not like, you know, engaging or responding or buying, I think that's because you fucked up, because those are people who really wanted to be on it in the first place.
Yeah, the bar is high. I totally agree. I think it's a great point. Like the upside of having all of these like bars to jump over in order to subscribe and the big blocks of text is, you know, Jason's point earlier of like, he doesn't want to engage people on his list. Like having that high bar, I guess that's one of the upsides of it.
It's definitely an upside. Kevin has to run, right, Kev?
Yeah, my kid's got a basketball game.
Alex, this call could have went on for another hour and a half.
Yeah, we're just getting started.
Yeah,
Guaranteed.
we could do it again.
We could definitely do it again. I mean, what would you say before we go? And I know that like I have a tendency, because I'm so fascinated with this shit. Like I have a tendency of talking a lot when I get like people on with technology that I don't know anything about, because like it's just exciting to me.
Yeah.
Before we go, could you just give us like, or give our audience sort of like, do you have like a benchmark of what people are in terms of revenue they're missing from, say, like not having SMS? Because I could tell you right now that like our client who's using it, like I told you, like they're out of stock right now, but when they were in stock, they were killing it with SMS, and they would bundle that with Facebook. And, you know, so do you have like, I know it's different for different brands, and, you know, but would you say like there's a percentage of sales people are missing out on by not using SMS?
Sure. That I was going to say different for different brand, blah, blah. Yeah. On average today, Postscript is driving roughly like 15% of merchant GMV, of like merchant revenue. However, the brands that have like fully adopted and like leaned into the channel, that's on average, right? A lot of people are still turn on a couple automations, send a campaign once a month, don't focus on growing their list. The people who are all in are seeing 40 to 50% of their revenue come from SMS. They're like crushing it on the channel. Like you mentioned, it's passing their email revenue. So it's certainly like double-digit percentage of revenue is like sitting there in this channel for brands, depending on what they sell and how much they want to lean in.
So then how does Kevin and I get a free unlimited email send account?
Yeah, the SMS services are expensive though.
Yeah, man.
They're
they are
expensive. I wish they weren't. It's because for every text that gets sent, we have to go pay Verizon and T-Mobile. They're kind of unlike email. There's a real hard cost for every message.
Yeah.
That sounds like a fun thing to manage.
Oh yeah, those relationships are great.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I'll tell you what though, man, like I'm really, you know, Kev, I'm really thinking about where this fits in for the golf business, because it's going to be mainly like instructional videos. And I think, Alex, what you said with the drip, where like you're being a little bit more, you're giving a little bit more value, per se. Like, I think that there's like for this golf business that we're about to create, I feel like there's definitely some opportunity there. And I think as soon as we get off this call, the first thing I'm going to do is just like add a phone number field to my box or my pop-up.
Yeah, do it. Get the right opt-in language on there too, so you can use them. But absolutely do it. And I'm a golfer, so count me in as a customer.
Are you?
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh, right. Are you any good?
No. I'm mediocre. I'm a golfer.
Yeah,
I'm with
so-
you, man. I'm the same
Dude,
way.
it's so funny.
Not
man.
as much
Like,
fun playing with Jason because he shoots really well and he takes it really seriously and doesn't drink any beers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I am middling. I am middling.
Well, so yeah, like before we got, I used to be a golf professional, right? And I moved to Florida, and like everybody told me I was an idiot to moving to Florida, yada yada yada. So I went down there to practice, and I was getting worse. Like I was playing like 5-6 times a week, and I was getting worse. I'm like, what the frig is going on? I thought I'm supposed to practice a lot to get better. Turns out that you don't actually. And I discovered this like this formula that allows you to like, dude, I'm telling you, this is not a joke. It allows you to practice less and get better. Like, I'm going to send you,
I need it.
Dude, I'm going to send you the link, man, because like I play once a week and I shoot par, often.
Oh,
So
you're the worst.
He's a
So
jerk. Big jerk.
yeah, once a week. And Kevin's a much
I
better
wait till
guy
he hits
than-
a few bad shots and I make sure he gets a couple beers in him. He's ready after that.
Well, Kevin, because Kevin's a thick guy and he's like 6 foot. I'm like 5'8" and like 3/4, like on a good day. And like he'll blast one out there, like, catch that one. Oh yeah. And then like I'll hit it. I'll be
He just
past
hits it
him.
different. It's so strange.
He's so aggravated because like, I'm a little guy. I'm a little fat guy, So, but anyway, Alex, I will send you the link once it's all done. I'm working on it as we speak. I'm actually I have it all over my whiteboards in here that you guys cannot see. But I will promise you take my course, I'll have you break at 80.
I'd be happy to break 90.
Where's test case?
I'd be happy to break 90.
Yeah, that's no problem. That's easy, man. I have it written down on my board. Listen to this. Think about this, Alex. Okay. This is real shit. 17 bogeys in a round of golf gives you 89.
Yeah.
17 bogeys. That's bogey in every single fucking hole except one.
It's brutal. Golf's a brutal game. I like I take a bogey as a win. Like shooting bogey golf for me is like good golf, but then shooting bogey golf and ending up over 90 and you're like, how did this happen?
5 is
Like,
Alex,
I thought
5
I'm
is
good.
my baseline. That's how I calculate my score. How many up or under 5 I am. Makes it much
Well,
easier to collect your score.
Kevin can shoot 79. It's just like in the first 12, 13 holes. I mean, as if he leaves at that point, he'll break 80 every single time. But
we got to go
Alex,
to Colorado and play with you.
Oh, dude, Colorado, man. I heard it's gorgeous.
There's some great courses out here in
Yeah.
fall.
Oh, it's cold right now, right? Like I'm looking outside.
Yeah.
It's 55 degrees today.
No, there's some snow on the courses right now. They're not happening, but 3-4 months from now, popping.
Alex, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it. And we're sorry we're cutting this a little short. Kevin has to take his kids to basketball. We definitely would love to have you back, man, and maybe go over a little bit more of the nuts and bolts. This is the first time having you on. I don't know anything about SMS, so I had questions from my own personal interest. So next time, I think we can get a little bit more in the nuts and bolts, and I'm sure the platform itself will have evolved by then as well.
Yeah, we're doing lots of stuff. Any merchants who need help with SMS, we're happy to. But thanks for having me, guys. Come back anytime.
Thanks, Alex.
Awesome, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah, like you said, Jason, we could have gone on for much longer with Alex. Really good in conversation. Could have asked him a bunch more questions. I actually have a list of questions that I didn't even get to ask him that maybe next time we have him on, we'll get more information.
Well, if you didn't have to leave, if
Yeah,
you
no, it's my fault.
prioritized our podcast, we wouldn't have to worry about it.
Every Tuesday I tell you that I have Tuesday is a rough day. And I don't know what, maybe not think of it when Jen scheduled it for 4 o'clock. So it's kind of a bad time.
That was
I usually
your
take
fault.
my daughter to field hockey at 3:30. I didn't do that. Now my kid's got a basketball game now, so I got to go. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. As always, you can check us out at ecommerceuncensored.com, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.
Later.
Attention e-commerce founders, entrepreneurs, side hustlers, marketers, and growth hackers. If you're working around the clock to build your dream e-commerce business, you need an e-commerce marketing platform that works just as hard as you do. That means you need Klaviyo. With Klaviyo, you'll delight customers and drive revenue at the same time. With personalized email and SMS marketing campaigns, you can design and send in minutes. For more, visit klaviyo.com/uncensored. That's KLAVIYO.com/uncensored.